My name is Adrian Cole, and before that night, I was nobody special. I was a former reconnaissance officer for the Earth Defense Fleet, now working as a security consultant on distant diplomatic missions. Humanity had only recently begun interacting with other civilizations, and most of those meetings were tense, cautious, and wrapped in layers of political ceremony. So, when the message arrived that I had been selected to attend the Imperial Masquerade Ball of the Aurelian Empire, I assumed it was a mistake. The Aurelians were one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations humanity had encountered. Their empire spanned dozens of star systems, and their capital world, Linares Prime, was said to be one of the most beautiful planets in the galaxy. Why they would invite a human like me to their most exclusive royal celebration was beyond my understanding. But 2 weeks later, my transport ship descended through the glowing atmosphere of Linares Prime. From orbit, the planet looked like a living jewel. Vast oceans reflected violet clouds, and enormous cities stretched across the continents like shimmering constellations. The capital palace floated above the largest city, suspended by anti-gravity pillars of light. That was where the ball would take place. As my shuttle approached the docking platform, I realized something else. Every guest wore a mask. The invitation had specified it clearly. All attendees must arrive masked in accordance with imperial tradition. Apparently, anonymity was part of the celebration. No titles. No ranks, just strangers dancing under the stars. At least, that was the idea. When I stepped inside the palace ballroom, I finally understood why the Aurelians were legendary across the galaxy. The chamber was enormous, with ceilings so high they seemed to merge with the night sky. Floating chandeliers made of glowing crystal drifted gently overhead, casting soft golden light across hundreds of elegantly dressed guests. Alien nobles of countless species filled the hall. Some were tall and slender with shimmering skin. Others had luminous markings across their faces or wore robes that glowed faintly with embedded technology. Music floated through the air, soft, haunting melodies played by instruments I couldn't even identify. It felt less like a party and more like stepping into a dream. And there I was, a human soldier in borrowed formal attire, trying not to look completely out of place. I stood near the edge of the ballroom, watching the dancers move gracefully across the floor. That's when I noticed her. Middle, the masked woman. She stood alone near one of the crystal balconies. Unlike the others, her mask was simple. Most guests wore elaborate designs, golden wings, gemstone patterns, or glowing alien symbols. But her mask was smooth white porcelain, shaped delicately around her eyes. Her dress shimmered like liquid silver under the ballroom lights. Something about her presence drew my attention immediately. Maybe it was the way people seemed to unconsciously move around her, as if respecting invisible space. Or maybe it was the way she looked out toward the stars beyond the balcony glass, as if she didn't quite belong among the celebration. Before I could talk myself out of it, I walked toward her. She noticed my approach and turned. Up close, I realized her eyes were extraordinary. Deep violet, glowing faintly in the dim light. Alien, but beautiful. Enjoying the ball? I asked awkwardly. Her voice was soft and calm. I am observing it. That sounds less fun. She tilted her head slightly. You are human. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I said. Is that a problem? No. She studied me for a moment. You seem uncomfortable here. Let's just say I wasn't expecting to attend the biggest royal party in the galaxy. A faint smile touched her lips. Perhaps that is why you were invited. Why is that? Because you do not behave like the others. I glanced around the room. Most of the guests were clearly high-ranking officials, diplomats, and nobles. I suddenly felt very underdressed. Well, I said, since we're both standing here looking out of place, would you like to dance? Her glowing eyes studied me again. For a moment, I thought she might refuse. Then she placed her hand in mine. Yes. The dance. The music shifted into a slow, elegant rhythm as we stepped onto the dance floor. I had learned basic formal dancing during my military training, but the Aurelian style was far more fluid. Thankfully, she seemed to guide the movements effortlessly. As we moved across the floor, the ballroom lights reflected off her silver dress like ripples of starlight. "You dance well," she said. "I'm mostly just trying not to step on your feet." She laughed softly. It was the first genuine laugh I had heard all night. "Humans are unusual," she said. "Is that good or bad?" Undetermined. We danced for several minutes, moving among the other couples. I noticed something strange. People were watching us. Not just casually. Some of the alien nobles had stopped dancing entirely. They were staring, whispering. I leaned closer. "Are we breaking some kind of royal dance rule?" Her voice was calm. "No." "Then why is everyone looking at us?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she spun gracefully beneath my arm as the music reached its climax. That's when it happened. Her mask slipped. It was just a small movement, a shift of the clasp behind her head. But it was enough. The porcelain mask slid from her face and fell to the floor with a soft clink. The entire ballroom went silent. Music stopped. Every guest froze. I looked down at the fallen mask, then slowly back up at her face. And suddenly I understood why. Around us, hundreds of alien nobles dropped to one knee. Some bowed deeply. Others lowered their heads in absolute silence. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Your Majesty." My stomach dropped. I looked at the woman standing in front of me. The woman I had just been joking with. The woman whose hand I was still holding. The realization hit me like a shockwave. "You're the Empress." Ending. A dance that changed everything. The Empress looked down at the mask on the floor. Then she looked back at me. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held something deeper now. Something ancient. "You are not supposed to learn this way," she said quietly. I immediately stepped back. "Your Majesty, She raised a hand. "Stop." The entire court remained kneeling. No one moved. She stepped closer to me. "Tell me, Adrian Cole," she said softly. "Would you have asked me to dance if you had known who I was?" I hesitated. Then I told the truth. "Probably not." "Why?" "Because emperors don't usually dance with random soldiers." She considered that. "Perhaps they should." She turned to the court. "You may rise." Slowly the nobles stood, but the tension in the room was thick. One tall alien official stepped forward nervously. "Your Majesty, the council will not approve of this." "Of what?" "Dancing with a human." The Empress's gaze hardened. This ball was created so that rank and title would disappear for one night. She looked back at me, and for a few moments it worked. I wasn't sure what to say. "So, am I in trouble?" She smiled slightly. "No." Then she did something no one expected. She picked up the fallen mask and placed it gently in my hands. "A reminder," she said. "Of what?" "That sometimes the most important moments in history happen by accident." She turned toward the court. "Tonight's celebration will continue." Music slowly returned to the ballroom, but the mood had changed. Before leaving the dance floor, the Empress looked at me one last time. "Human," she said softly. "Yes, Your Majesty." "You danced without fear." I didn't know I was supposed to be afraid. "That," she said, "is exactly why I wanted to meet you." Then she disappeared into the crowd of nobles. Later that night, as I prepared to leave the palace, a royal messenger approached me. He handed me a sealed invitation. "From the Empress," he said. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single sentence. "The galaxy is changing, Adrian Cole." I believe humanity will play an important role. I would like your help. I looked back at the glowing palace floating above the city. Just hours earlier, I had been a nobody at the edge of the ballroom. Now the ruler of an empire wanted to work with me, all because of one dance and a mask that slipped at exactly the right moment. Sometimes destiny doesn't arrive with warships or royal decrees. Sometimes it begins with a single step on a dance floor beneath the stars. Milky Way.